Welcome to Church Spotlight. I'm Rena Danley, and today we visit with Three Rivers Assembly of God, located on Highway 63 in the Wade Three Rivers community. The church, commonly known as The River, is pastored by Gene Emsweiler, and today we sit down and visit with Brother Gene and find out what's going on at The River. Brother Gene, we've known each other for many, many years. We go back a long way, and you were the first youth pastor to my older brothers at Escatawba Assembly. And I know you graduated from Southwestern in Texas, but what I don't know is what brought you from Texas to Mississippi. So if you'll lay a little history for us of your call to ministry.
Well, thank you. And first of all, let me say it's a privilege to be able to be on the program and spotlight our church. In 1971, Brother Norman Busby, who pastored Magnolia Springs here for several years, recommended me to Brother Forrest Coleman as a young evangelist to come and hold revivals. And for several years we came and held revivals, probably 3 or 4. And in 1975 he asked me to come on as his youth pastor. And from January 1 of 1975 to this present time, all of our ministry has been in the state of Mississippi. That's how we got here. Of course, I married a young lady out of the Escatawba Church, Teresa Pierce. We served there 3.5 years. Have fond memories of the youth ministry. Not too many fond memories of your brothers, but we did. Seriously though, they're precious guys. We love Curtis and Brian and Terry very, very much. But all of our years of ministry have been involved here in the state of Mississippi. Of
course, I was too young to be in your youth group.
That's true. Yeah.
But so you started as an evangelist.
Yes, I evangelized full time for 5 years out of when I graduated from Southwestern, and then came to Escatawba as youth pastor.
Right, great. And so at some point, you made the transition from youth pastor to senior pastor.
Correct. A church, First Assembly of God in Meridian, Mississippi. I'd held several revivals there, and their pastor had resigned and went to Florida, and their pulpit committee made contact with me. And before I would give an answer, even to come and interview, I, of course, first of all, ran it by my wife, and then to our senior pastor, Brother Coleman. He encouraged us to pursue it. He and I had sort of had a verbal commitment that we, one or the other, would know when our time was up. And we both felt like in our spirit that we had served our purpose at Escatawba. So we went to First Assembly Meridian Easter Sunday of 1978. It was our first Sunday as senior pastors.
And then senior pastor ever since?
Ever since.
That's wonderful.
Pastored there for a short time, about 15 months. Then the district leadership asked us to come to New Hope Assembly right down the road from us, and we served there from 9 years, from 1979 to 1988. Then they asked us to take First Assembly in Gulfport, stayed there 3.5 years. And then they asked us to go to First Assembly in Jackson, stayed in that area 9 years, and then transitioned here. I don't want to belabor the point, but or focus so much on myself, but we were planning to go into full-time evangelistic work after we left Jackson, but God sovereignly and with no intention of pastoring opened the door here, and Teresa and I felt like we could walk through that door.
Your heart evidently was still in this community.
No doubt about it. We had a great connection as youth pastor. Our 9 years at New Hope Assembly, in which your youngest brother, or the brother I guess closest to you,
yes,
Brian, served as our youth pastor there. Had a great ministry. The Lord gave us connections here that were never forgotten in the 12 years we were gone. And so when we came back, it was like coming back home.
Right, right. The connections that God foreseen,
yes,
and He knew, were put in place years ago.
Exactly.
So.
And that's how the Lord works.
Yes.
What may be going on today It may not be just for today, but could be for the future. There was an evangelist friend of mine, Sister Martha Tennyson, that preached a message one night entitled, "What's Happening May Not Be What's Going On." And I think that connects with what you just said.
Very clever. I like that.
Yes.
So, a rich history.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about the history of Three Rivers.
Oh, fantastic. I'd love to. This is, of course, our heart for the last 10 years. Three Rivers Assembly of God has been in 3 locations, all in this community, of course. And it is the second oldest Assembly of God church in the state of Mississippi.
Really?
I did my best to verify that. I could not say that 100%, but it's either the second or third oldest Assembly of God church. It has had several pastors throughout that history, but and what brought us to the church was that as we were traveling, holding revivals, one of the men of the church contacted us, wanted to know if we could come and preach and fill in for them. They were without a pastor. And we did so. And that night he asked if we'd pray about being the pastors. Well, we had no intention of pastoring at that time, but we told him we'd pray. And there's a long story involved there. We won't get into it on the program today, but of how the Lord really confirmed that we're supposed to be here. And we started with 12. The Lord blessed greatly. Within a year and a half to 2 years, we had to relocate because the growth was so great.
That's
and this
awesome.
present property was up for sale, and we had 31 acres here, and we made an offer, in which we really didn't expect the owners to accept, but they did, and we had just recently had an offer on our old building, and the way the timing of the two just came together, and when we got ready to build on this property was completely paid for. So we have 31 acres to build, to use for the work of the kingdom in a very powerful way. This church has always been a good church, but it's been a family church. Mm-hmm. And the Lord has allowed us to reach the community. Our people are loving, kind, precious people, and we've grown now to we're averaging close to 200 on a Sunday.
That is remarkable.
It is.
That's the hand of God.
That is, exactly.
That's the hand of God and the favor of God to bring you to this area so that you can have more land to further the plan and the vision that I know you have
Yes.
here at Three Rivers.
Yes.
And I know you're the assistant superintendent
Correct.
of Mississippi, and as well as the director of World Missions,
Yes.
as well as president of Mississippi Teen Challenge
Right.
here in Pascagoula. So I know you have a lot of things on your plate, as well as being the senior pastor here at the River. And I know God's given you a vision, and with that vision, I'm sure He gives you help along with that.
And He has allowed us, especially in the last 2.5 years, to add staff that have been very beneficial. We've had former staff, and now they're serving in other places. But in the last 2 years, when the growth really began to mature and be nurtured, He has allowed us to bring in individuals that have been a real blessing to us.
Great. Brother Gene's going to introduce us to his staff when we return, so stay with us. Welcome back to Church Spotlight. Today we're at Three Rivers Assembly of God, located in the Three Rivers Wade community. Senior Pastor Gene Emsweiler has invited us to sit down and talk with some of his staff. So joining me now is Jay Bonner, Youth Pastor. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so every youth group has a name.
Absolutely.
What's the name of the youth group here?
Well, the name of our youth group is Inside Out Student Ministries. And it was a funny way of us trying to come up with it, me and my wife, Alicia Bonner. We just really sat down and we said, we need something that's going to grab these students' attention, something that's going to stand out. And when we began to think about the name and think about some ideas, we began to think about some concepts that just kind of reflect that. And Inside Out Student Ministries really kind of did that for us. When we began to actually present the name, we actually turned our shirts inside out in the sermon and for casting that vision for them. And immediately, as soon as we did that, the students began to point out, "Hey, your shirt's inside out, Pastor Jay." and Miss Alicia, and so we kind of reflected on that and said, so what does that mean to you? How does that grab you? And they just begin to say, you know, Inside Out just it stands out. It goes against the norm, if you would. Absolutely, very different. And we wanted that to kind of catch on because that was what we wanted our youth ministry to reflect to the outside world. We wanted to stand out. We wanted to be different, and we wanted to go against the norm because, unfortunately, in today's world, the world is the norm, and we want to go against that. So that's kind of how we formed our name, Inside Out Student Ministries. And we came up with this really cool T-shirt. We thought it was really neat. It just says, you know, Inside Out Student Ministries. And our slogan that we have that kind of goes with what we're about is that it starts from within. It starts from within. And on the back we have a scripture that kind of just reflects what we're about, and it's Matthew 23:26, and it just says, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside will also be clean. And so we just made them inside out, so people just kind of constantly try to tuck our tags in, and it grabs a lot of attention. But it gives us an opportunity to minister to people.
That is such a cool idea that I know the young people just, that's right down their alley.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. So how long have you been youth pastor?
Well, I've actually been here since September of 2009, so really just kind of going into my 9th month now. And it's been a blast.
Great. So do you have any outside ministries other than being your youth service here at the church?
Yeah, sure. We spend a lot of time with our students as much as as much as we can, and a lot of times Wednesdays, a lot of the youth pastors in the community will go up and visit with our students during lunch periods, and it's just so nice that the schools allow us to do that. So we take a lot of time and just kind of spend more time with them, kind of more in their environment. You know, bringing them into church is kind of our environment, it's our element, but we want to get out and see what they're like in their own element, and that's what we are able to accomplish with that.
Sounds exciting. So when is your youth service here at the church?
We meet every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and really kind of between those times we do a lot of things like our worship band practice, and you know, we do a lot of drama and such, so we do a lot of that before time and just get them kind of amped up for the service, and it's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Thank you, Brother Jay.
Thank you so much, Rena.
Now we're sitting here with Johnette Scott, the children's coordinator for Three Rivers Assembly of God. Tell me about your children's program.
Okay, it's called Kids Way Ministry, and we meet during the Sunday morning service, the AM service, and we have anywhere from 35 to 45 kids on Sunday morning.
That's a lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
A lot of
kids,
kids.
A lot of boys.
A lot of activity then.
Yeah, a lot of activity.
Okay, so how do you go about trying to teach them godly principles and the Word of God?
Okay, right now we're learning the books of the Bible. They're doing real good doing that. We're singing the books of the Bible. And we just finished a study on who is God. We learned who was God, and we are doing a study on why God gave us the Bible. You know, the kids really don't know why or who wrote the Bible. So we're learning right now, maybe probably through the summer, a lot about the Bible. They're learning how to find different scriptures in the Bible. And this past Sunday was real exciting for us. The church, there was several church people came to me and wanted to give money towards getting some Bibles for the kids. We have some kids that didn't have Bibles.
Oh,
so they get a
awesome
prize for bringing their Bible every week. And some of them didn't have Bibles, so we just gave the kids their new Bible Sunday. A pink one for the girls and a blue one for the boys. So they were real excited about that, and they have no excuse now for not having a Bible when they come.
Right.
So that means more prizes, because they get a prize for bringing their Bible.
Motivation.
That's right.
Motivation.
That's right.
Well, I think that's awesome. Things that you maybe would take for granted that everyone would be able to have a Bible. So I think that's an awesome outreach ministry of even within the body to make sure that every child has a Bible.
Absolutely.
And start with the building blocks, you know, learning who wrote the Bible, and I think that's really great. So how do you make it interesting where they can grasp the concept?
Okay, one of the things that we were learning from the Bible was the Romans Road of Salvation. I made up some little cards for them and laminated them and put them on a keychain, and they can wear those or take them to school with them or put them on their book bag. If they come back and they learn at least 3 of those, by the next week they get a bigger prize. So I had one little boy yesterday came back and knew the first 3 steps of the Romans Road. There's 6, I think, scriptures involved in the Romans Road of Salvation. So That's real good. A lot of prizes, a lot of
Right.
candy.
Right. Well, you have to have motivation for
Right,
kids, and I
right.
think that's getting and reaching them on their level.
That's right.
And that's what makes you a good children's coordinator.
Yes.
You know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, what about the upcoming events? Do you have with summer coming up? Are there any special plans that you have?
Every Tuesday in June and July, we did this last year, and it turned out really great. We had probably about 100 kids for the summer. On Tuesdays, June and July, we have Terrific Tuesdays. They come at 9 o'clock, they bring a sack lunch. We play water games, we make crafts, we might go skating one Tuesday. And they're picked up by 1 o'clock, and they're exhausted, and I am too. But it was real fun, and the kids really loved it. We're going to do that again.
Right.
And then the end of June, we're going to Kosciuszko, Mississippi, to kids camp. I'm real excited about that, and the kids are too. That's real fun for a week.
Right.
So,
Well, it kind of takes a spin off of the VBS
Right.
doing the Terrific Tuesdays. I think
Right.
that's a great idea, and I've
Yes.
never heard of that. So
It
that's
worked out
very
really good.
interesting.
Very good, very good.
Well, thank you so much for sitting and chatting with us and letting
you
us
for
know what's
coming.
going on about with the kids.
Thank
They're
you for coming,
important,
Rena.
and I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're joined with Miss Parma Lee, the secretary of the church, correct?
That's true. Yes, I am.
And so you pretty much hold everything together.
Well, that's what everybody claims, but really, I just do my job. I just do my job.
I understand. You're probably Brother Gene's right-hand woman?
Not really. I'm his left-hand woman because he's left-handed. So I try to hold things up really on both ends, but I'm the secretary bookkeeper. So I have a dual role in this.
The reason I wanted Rena for her to be a part of this is that Sister Crobb, or Parma Lee, her and her husband also pastored a church at their age, Glad Tidings Assembly of God. I didn't mean that negative. But she has brought a wealth of experience, not only in the bookkeeping and secretarial work, but they are also certified counselors. And I would like, if it's all right with you, for me to give them a plug for their counseling ministry. They have helped several of our families here at the church and do an outstanding job. But we could not make it without Parma Lee here. She has been a very rich blessing. She's been with us
Almost 7 years.
7 years. And I wanted her to have a little bit of exposure here on the program, if that was all right.
Well, my husband and I, we pastor Glad Tidings Assembly in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and we also do marriage counseling, like Brother Gene said. We are associated with the American Association of Christian Counselors and also with NAME, with the National Association of Marriage Enrichment, out of Tommy Barnett's church in Phoenix, Arizona. So we have that background, and that's where we come from. All of our counseling is biblical counseling. And we endeavor to bring men and women to the place where they can begin to see themselves. What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Not what's wrong with my spouse, because that, by the time they get to us, that's all they're thinking. Their spouse is totally to blame. But that's not always true. It takes two. And so my husband and I have been married 57 years. So we do have a wealth of personal experience too, as well as about 15 years of marriage counseling.
Praise the Lord.
So this is where we come from. Pastors send people to us, and it's all free. Limited time, of course, has to be by appointment because we have to do it at night after working all day with Brother Gene and or Teen Challenge, wherever I happen to be, because I'm also the bookkeeper for Teen Challenge in Pascagoula on 1 day a week. So we have a very busy schedule. I have a very busy schedule just trying to keep up with Brother Gene and all of his activities, with him being the assistant superintendent of the Mississippi district. Then he's also the World Missions Coordinator for the district. So we have that to do besides what we do right here. So it's a busy life, but I enjoy it.
You wear many hats.
Yeah, very many, and that's just a few. That's just a few.
Right. I think it's awesome that this just another ministry that's offered here at Three Rivers. And so I think that's vital to know. I think that's very important. When we return, Brother Gene will share some of the future plans here at the River. Stay with us. Welcome back to Church Spotlight. Today we're at Three Rivers Assembly of God with Brother Gene in the Wade community. And we've just got a glimpse of talking to some of your staff and some of the ministries that you have implemented here at the River. And I know it takes a lot of help to catch the vision and talk about future plans.
Exactly, and again, I want to say thank you, Rena, for coming out today and letting us have this opportunity to share. We have a slogan here at the church called "The River at Three Rivers," and there's a small, I think, unique story behind that. While we were contemplating whether or not to come, we met with a pastor friend up in Jackson. We hadn't moved yet, and we met with a pastor friend there. And we were talking about just laying it out before him, because he was great wisdom, great counsel. And he began to talk about Three Rivers becoming a river. And of course, there's three rivers that forge into one here in this area. And Pascagoula, I think the East River, and Dog River forge somewhere along Compass Bluff up here into one. And he said it's time for Three Rivers to be one. So we took that and began to build on that as we became pastors. And of course, the river represents the life of the Spirit for the Christian, for the believer. And we want that river to continuously to flow. It flowed in our old location. The river of God has flowed here, and we want it to continue to flow in relationship to the future. And the Lord is leading us. In fact, in the next month or so, we're going to be presenting to our church family a 5-year vision, both financially and buildings and outreach ministry, to accommodate what we feel like God's called us to do. And some of that is going to be in the back. You can't see it here as we're talking now, but some of that includes building a soccer field. Also, we have plans for within 5 years to have a fully equipped Family Life Center. By that, I'm talking about not just a gym, but also to have rooms available for a church library, to have a internet cafe type setup. Also, we're looking at doing something very unique. I don't have another church that does it, but we have the land. We have 31 acres altogether, but we have the land directly behind you, where we are looking at bringing in a go-kart track for nonprofit status for our church to be able to maintain. And if all that comes to pass, the outreach that can come from those things is just limitless. And we just believe that the future is right for Three Rivers. We believe God's raised us up for a time, such a time as this, just like He did Esther. And we will take full advantage of what God is leading us to do.
That's awesome. I've not heard of any plans like that. I think that's very unique, and I think it's a wonderful outreach.
It is.
That's a great
And if I could just say one more thing, part of that 5-year plan is that we're going to, we have wetlands that are part of our 31 acres, but we can't build buildings on them, but we can build walking tracks, we can build Royal Ranger, which is a ministry to our boys. We can build campsites there for them. It's just so much we can do on 31 acres.
Right.
And in fact, this is really would be a work of faith. We have first option on the other 58 acres of this 90 acres. And we're just believing the Lord in time that we'll be able to purchase that 98 acres.
Right. If God gives you the vision, then He will equip you to make it happen.
I believe that.
That's great. Tell me what a service would be like at Three Rivers.
Well, you hear this phrase a lot, but we believe it's life-changing. We start our morning worship at 10:30, and we have no boundaries. We have, in the sense of time restraints, we give, but it's an orderly service. But we give the Holy Spirit opportunity to work in lives. about 6 weeks ago, a young man, the Lord began to move and minister, and came from a very rough background. I saw him back in the sanctuary just weeping, and went back to him while the worship was going on. Accepted the Lord right then and there, no altar call, just gave his heart to the Lord. They're power-packed. Of course, you know, it's time for the church, not just to have church, but church to be the church.
Right.
And a lot of the things that we're going to be pouring into our people the next several months, hopefully as the Lord tarries the next 2 or 3 years, is taking the church out of these four walls. Knowing your background a little bit as I do, you understand that concept, that it's more than just what happens inside that building.
Sure.
And this is a part of that. You're taking, by what you're doing, you're becoming the church in a way.
Sure.
And I appreciate that. But that's our overall vision, is to become the church, not just have church, but become the church.
Right. That's awesome. Give us a rundown of your service times.
Thank you. More, Sunday school at 9:30. We have a class for all children. We have a one adult class. 10:30 morning worship. 6 o'clock for the evangelistic service. And then back on family night on Wednesday. We call it WOW, W-O-W, worship on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And everybody from the cradle to the grave is included in that.
Welcome, right?
Yes.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
sweetheart.
having us
I
today.
appreciate it.
A lot of things going on. It's exciting
Yes,
to
it is.
know that there's things going on now, and you're looking ahead to
Yes.
the future. So thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Remember, if you'd like to see your church featured, give us a call or email us through our website, wkfk.com. And until next time, I'm Rena Danley. Thanks for watching.